This is Trophy Gold, Tomb Robbers of the Crystal Frontier, Part 1 of a planned 4 sessions. And I think 4 sessions is plenty of time to finish, but we'll see. I want to start by having all of us introduce ourselves. So when I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you would like for people watching the video to know about you. I will begin. My name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. And I am, excuse me, I am the publisher of Trophy Gold, one of the publishers, and I have run Trophy Gold a fair amount, and I really love it. It's my kind of fantasy game, and I'm excited to give this particular module a go. I've enjoyed the creator's other modules, and so I'm looking forward to this one. Let's go to David.
My name is David. I use he, him pronouns. I'm part of the Gauntlet publishing team, and so I get to help out with lots of Trophy Gold things. I'm excited to give this one a shot. I have not gotten to play it yet.
Fantastic, thank you. And let's go to, I was about to say Lysander, let's go to Daniel.
I'm Daniel, he, him, and I am bringing back Lysander for, I think, this might be the third
adventure,
the third time that I played Lysander, the Lavesti librarian. I am currently running Trophy Gold in a homebrew that I like to call Return to Gundethal.
I love it, thank you. And Colin.
Yeah, I'm Colin. I use he, him, they is also fine. I do some game designy type stuff, and some of that has actually been inspired by Trophy Gold. I've never played or run it, but I've watched a lot, I think almost all of your actual plays, Jason. And so I'm familiar and I'm really excited. This is actually, I've been running and playing tabletop RPGs for about 3 years now. This is the first time being just purely a player. And so I'm excited and a little nervous, but mostly excited.
Awesome, I love it. Great, so let's, I know that feeling, by the way. I like to be just the GM though. I'd like to be a player. Let's do CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. I like to do CATS as a way of establishing some basic expectations for what's going to happen during this session and the next 3 sessions after. And so the concept of Trophy Gold is a game about desperate treasure hunters going into the lost and forgotten parts of the world in an attempt to procure treasure and relics that will allow them to satisfy some particular drive they have. They need lots of money to satisfy the drive, and this is one of the ways they're going to try to get the money. It is very, very, like, in its aesthetic, it's very, very classically sort of OSR dungeon delving type game, right? In its mechanics, however, it's a little bit more like a story game. It is derived from Trophy Dark, which was the first game in the series. And so it has a lot of those mechanics and that sort of like play style, which is a very quasi-collaborative play style. This particular module is called Tomb Robbers of the Crystal Frontier. I'm not going to say too much about it. It is its own bespoke setting, and so I'm going to be kind of massaging it a little bit to make it fit the trophy setting, but I'm going to try to do my best to sort of stick to it. Gus, the designer, Gus L., who I have chatted with about dungeons a lot, Gus is really interesting because he likes to design dungeons in the very, very like OSR way, which is it's all a puzzle, right? You're meant to go in there and figure the puzzle out. It's a environment. Because we're playing Trophy Gold, some of that will get discarded necessarily because of the way Trophy Gold works. And so this is maybe not like the most ideal way of seeing what Tomb Robbers of the Crystal Frontier is about, but we're going to definitely get the feeling and the flavor and the vibe, and we'll do some of the puzzles as well, so it'll be great. The aim of the session is first we're going to make characters, and then after we introduce them, we will begin play. The aim of the characters is to find treasure, so always be focused on finding treasure. And our aim as players is to tell a good story. Now, if this was Trophy Dark, I would say really lean into that play to lose ethos, where the story is about how you spiral down and you meet your doom. But Trophy Gold is a little different. It is both play to lose and play to win. You should mostly be trying to play to win. you should be trying to keep the characters alive. However, the moment might come when it's not going to happen. You're going to hit 6 ruin, or you're going to be lost, and in which case you should switch to a play to lose attitude and embrace that in order to tell a good story. The tone of the game is dark. It's not quite as dark as Trophy Dark, but it is pretty dark. This particular module has a very, I would say, like a Wild West feel, or like a sort of frontier land feel. Subject matter wise, there's nothing in this module that stands out as like, particularly gnarly or gruesome or worth pointing out. We will have 3 safety tools on the table: the X card, the lines and veils, and the open door policy. The open door policy is fairly easy. You can leave for any reason. You don't have to explain yourself. David, if you leave, you might have to explain yourself. Daniel and Colin, you can leave whenever you want. The X card in this context is if something happens that you find to be objectionable for some reason, you can say X card or type it in the chat and we'll stop and change whatever it was. I might ask what is being X carded, but I won't ask why. And then lines and veils, that'll be handled in the character keeper. When you get a chance to, there's a safety tab on the character keeper. Just go there, mark your lines and veils. If there's something you're particularly interested in exploring, you can also mark that too, like something you want to lean into. I'll just, to kind of show how lines and veils work, I'll say my lines and veils. Lines are things that we are not going to have in the game at all. And so for a line, I'm going to say sexual violence. I just prefer not to have that in my games, and so we're not going to do it. Veils are things that we're okay with being in the game. We just prefer not to role play them. And so for me, a veil is going to be torture. I don't mind torture being a thing that the characters or other NPCs engage in. I just prefer not to role play that. So when you get a chance, mark your lines and veils, so I know, so everyone knows. Okay, so that is cats. Does anyone have any questions about cats? All right, then I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording so we can make characters. Okay, we're back. Let's introduce our characters. Let's start with a returning character, Lysander. Daniel, tell us everything you want us to know about Lysander at this point.
Lysander is from Lavesti. He was a librarian, and he's from his noble family has been disinherited, and he at this point in his career as an adventurer, treasure hunter, he's pretty rough. He's got his clothes are all like urban wear, and he has like the stylized powdered wig that's a helmet that's looking pretty battered. And he's got a leather jacket with these brass rings sold in it. So his cut's all urban, but he's been out in the wilderness that he's looking pretty ragged. He has this Lavesti librarian dueling saber. Apparently they're hot-headed and easily their honor is easily besmirched. Anyways, and so he has a couple of rituals. One is he's able to contact the ghost of his dead lover, and it has come into play. And then he picked up one that he's not used called Duplicate, where he's able to briefly duplicate himself. We'll see how that plays out. And I think I think that's all for Lysander.
Fabulous, thank you. And let's meet our brand new characters. So David, tell us about Revel.
Yeah, so I think Revel is currently a Lancer, formerly recently retired soldier. What it means, I think, that he's still a Lancer is he's still kind of, it's kind of like sellsword, but it's also kind of like hunter. He helps out however he can with his martial abilities, but he is no longer in the army. Instead, he is seeking his own way in the world to gather as much coin and gold as possible to earn the respect of the governor of Fort Durin.
Fantastic. What's your ritual?
Ritual is ward, stay concentrating to protect a small area. I think that's part of his success is his innate talent to ward. I think that's part of his success as a soldier and how he managed to become an old retired soldier and not a dead on the battlefield soldier.
Fantastic, thank you. And let's go to Colin and his character Kel.
Yeah, so Kel is he, him pronouns, and they're an injured naturalist. And I see them as kind of an academic who got injured out in the field, and they've since turned to beekeeping and kind of turned a bit away from academia, but ultimately would like to take Cyrus's place at the Earthen Council. And so maybe has a bit of a grudge or some vengeance to enact. They've got a ritual of scent, so they can use their olfactory senses to navigate in complete darkness. And yeah, skills of climbing swarms, resilience, and flora and fauna.
Fabulous, thank you. Now there's going to be a lot more to learn about these characters, in particular their drives, and we will do that as we play. And so let us press forward. Let me tell you a couple of, or just cover a couple of rules things about Trophy Gold, which I think are always good to be reminded of. The first is that this is a quasi-collaborative game. If I was using a written for Trophy Gold incursion, I would have a skeletal dungeon with which I'd be working with, and we'd sort of fill in a lot of the details via the rules of the game. In this instance, I have an extremely fleshed out dungeon because we're using a module, and yet we will be changing expectations. We will be altering things from the module because of the way the game works. So the game has a role called the risk roll, and there's a particular part of the risk roll, especially called the Devil's Bargain, where you as players have an opportunity to really shape the fiction in interesting ways. And so don't worry too much about what I have written on my notes or in the module, because the truth is whatever we make together at the table, right? And especially if something is a devil's bargain, it absolutely happens, right? So to give you an example of the way a devil's bargain might work, because I like to do that, let's say, for example, that Kel is jumping across a deep ravine of sharp crystalline growths, and that's a risk roll, and the devil's bargain comes up, and everyone's making their offers. The offers for the devil's bargain are something that happens no matter what, whether Kel successfully jumps across the ravine or not, right? And so the devil's bargain might be, Kel, no matter what, you are going to drop your staff down into the ravine. If you are successful, it's because you jump across the ravine, but you lose hold of your staff and it falls down into the ravine. If you're unsuccessful, it's because, Kel, you also fall down the ravine with your staff, right? So that is how the devil's bargain kind of works. That's a pretty simple devil's bargain, I think, and that's okay sometimes, but better is maybe a more fictionally interesting devil's bargain. And so perhaps one of us, some clever player, says, Kel, my devil's bargain is that on the other side of the Crystal Ravine is Cyrus from the Earthen Council. And so that would be the devil's bargain, right? And now suddenly the story is a very, very interesting, gone into some interesting direction, an interesting direction that the module did not foresee, right? So, so kind of bear in mind that that's how the game works, right? The other rules thing I want to discuss is basic exploration and hunt rolls and hunt roll tokens and set goals, okay? So the dungeon will be divided up into, I have divided up the dungeon into sets, and each set has a set goal, right? And a set goal is usually an out of character goal that we're trying to accomplish related to the story or some other thing. Sometimes it can be a much more in character goal, like find the secret door or something like that. But mostly it's mostly out of character stuff. And you can achieve the set goals just by exploring the environment and making the right decisions, right? And doing the right things. Or alternatively, you can spend hunt roll tokens in order to satisfy the set goal. You'll be collecting these hunt roll tokens as you explore, and if you collectively spend 3 of them, you can automatically achieve the set goal. And why might you do this? Well, because you might be getting pretty high on your ruin. You may not have much more time left in the dungeon based off that. The pressure might be on, and you just need to figure this part out. And so you all decide, boom, let's spend the tokens so we don't have to like risk ourselves. So that's one reason why you might do that. Just sort of, you might also decide to do it just because it would be interesting. You might decide this is the moment in the story when we should do this, and so let's spend the tokens, right? You can also spend your hunt roll tokens that you're collecting on a one-for-one basis to find a treasure. So you might just find treasure by searching, or you can, as a sort of out of character thing, say, I'm going to spend a hunt roll token to get a treasure right now, and I will give you a treasure. So your characters have burdens that have to be met, and treasure is how you meet those burdens. I think those are the only rules things I want to discuss right now. Are there any other questions before we begin? Okay, in that case, let me take a look at the module for a moment. Tomb Robbers of the Crystal Frontier. You should know that the Crystal Frontier is quite a trek away from Fort Durin. This is not close enough to where you can just be like, oh, let's go back to Fort Durin. It's not that kind of thing. You had to really like trek out here, right? In fact, you were lured here by the promises of easy wealth. You have signed on with a band led by a scholar. This scholar, her name is Adipose Mab. I shall type that for you. Adipose Mab has covered all of your costs up to this point, and your deal with her, which we'll discuss in a little bit, your deal with her also covers a lot of your, will help with your burdens as well. So that's a good thing, but we'll talk about the deal in a minute. You've been a part of her mule trade for some time. The mule train has followed the spring freshets. I've never heard of that word. Followed the spring freshets down from the peaks of the maiden tombs, along pilgrim trails where earthquake and landslide have left the high roads through the mountains tumbled at the bottom of jagged cliffs. Journey done, the Crystal Frontier stretches before you. It is a land lashed by sorcery, poisoned by magic, where the rock and soil are dyed bold hues by arcane mordants leaking from the translucent shards that fall nightly from the sky, blazing above the cursed land. Let's have a little paint the scene question. This is something everybody will answer. This land is changed because of the crystals that it gets its name from, these crystals that have fallen from the sky, some of them quite large. They're so suffused with magic, they have altered the landscape in some way, in a way that, frankly, the stories you heard about the Crystal Frontier before you came here don't do any justice. What do you notice that shows how the land has been changed?
I'm going to say that as we're traveling, when the sun shines through some of these crystals, they create prisms show through, and they create these arcane holographic images of things that were killed or destroyed in the process. It might be people or animals we can see in the prism light.
It's like
almost
memories.
like hologram.
Yeah, it's interesting. Love it.
I'm going to say that whether these crystals kind of impacted plant life or the plant life has kind of grown up through the crystal deposits, that the flora of this area takes on almost kind of glass-like characteristics. And so kind of sparkling and shining and potentially maybe even kind of crystalline in nature.
Thank you.
The creatures and plants and things that are like still visible in the spectral prismatic glow are unreliably solid. So you could potentially touch or feel one of them, but they might fade from existence almost immediately, or they might remain solid for some time.
Nice. When humanity's nations and magic were strong, the frontier was a shunned bad land. In these fallen times, desperation has driven outcasts and refugees from both sides of the mountains to struggle here. They scratch out their existence in the poisonous painted soil and raise huge half-feral hogs. In fact, all there is to eat around here are scrubby plants, cacti, and fatback from pigs. That's what we have out here in the Crystal Frontier. The lure of wealth also draws depraved treasure seekers who hunt for the voids within these sky crystals. Sometimes these voids are full of gold, eldritch artifacts, and the glittering gemstone reservoirs of arcane power that have come to be known as oculiths. The mule train of Adipose Mab. Adipose Mab is a wiry, weather-worn woman in her late 30s with greasy brown hair and black grit in the lines of her face. She looks a little bit like a scholar. It does make you wonder if that's just something she tells people or tells herself, because otherwise you get the distinct impression from her rough manner that she is a little bit closer to an explorer, a tomb robber, a treasure hunter, just like you. But she has managed to rope in a lot of labor in order to achieve her goals. The mule train is filled with dozens of greenhorns, basically just workers, thugs, enforcers. She has a pair of bodyguards, Koto and Kero. They are twins. And she has a gem cutter called Flash. Flash is going to be the one who gets you all down into this particular tomb that she has discovered. You spend some time in Scarlet Town, which is the little frontier town that has sprung up in the area. We're not going to dwell on Scarlet Town, though. You might be able to return to it in the future, but for now, we're going to fast forward to the actual site of the dig. And we'll talk about your terms as well when we get back from a short break. Let's take 5. Now, as I noted, you have spent a fair amount of time reaching this place, a fair amount of time in Adipose Mab's mule train. And during that time, you have learned some facts. I have put a screenshot into the chat. Facts as they are spoken. I shall read them aloud for people in the video, for people watching the video, but you can follow along there with that image. Crystal tombs fall from the sky, streaking across the night every few months. Only a few of them have voids, the hollows where oculiths and other treasures are found. Tomb crystal, the main material of the tombs, is magically poisonous, but only when it's shattered. The dust will root in flesh, propagating more crystals and slowly killing those it infects, finally turning them into lith whites. Gem cutters like Flash find the natural fracture lines in tomb crystal and facet them to safely open them for exploration. Oculiths are tomb crystal shards that absorb ambient magic. Magicians drain the glowing stones to replenish their power. The bigger and brighter the oculith, the greater its potency. As I noted before, get used to eating prickly pear and fatback. The painted earth of the Crystal Frontier is dead. Cactus, briarweed, and lichen are the only things besides hogs that grow well, but desperate settlers still try to farm it. Most have crystal poisoning to some degree or another. And also, as noted before, there's one town of note on the Crystal Frontier, Scarlet Town, a boom town where oculiths are traded and tomb robbers can waste their wealth. It's not safe, but it's safer than the small hamlets filled with inbreds, cannibals, cultists, and Lithwites. So, this particular expedition. First, you have to know about a well-known gem robber called Murkfy. A well-known gem robber, a decent cutter, a poor prospector, and the head of a cheery band of cutthroats. 6 months ago, he and his priest's children rushed out of Scarlet Town, whooping that they'd return richer than the old emperor, but they never did. Mab has somehow acquired a map that she claims leads to Murkfy's last find. That's where you're all headed. Flash, her gem cutter, will cut the crystal tomb if it's still closed, after which the party will be the first to enter what Mab glibly calls Murkfy's Rock. The rest of the expedition will enter and recover when all of you are done finished scouting Murkfy's Rock. Now, the agreement. Mab expects you all to abide by this agreement and turn over all of the treasure you discover to her. When you first return to the surface, she'll ask what you found, and then she'll throw down a rope. And you'll be expected to send up all the stuff you found, and you better not be lying, or she will know. And she has a lot of men up there ready to enforce this deal. The specifics of the terms are this. She expects you to go down and scout the area, all right? That's straightforward. But also, return any treasure you find. Once you have given her a certain amount of treasure, in trophy gold terms, it's equal to 10 gold, your burdens are cleared, and she will give you a map to another tomb like this that you can go and explore as you wish and not have to give her anything. After you're done finding your 10 gold worth of stuff and satisfying your burdens, you can continue searching down in this particular tomb, but you have to give her half of everything you find at that point. So they're pretty strict terms. Now, Murkfy went down, right? He had a shaft that went down into this tomb. But Mab has been saying very loudly and very conspicuously that I don't care about finding Murkfy's shaft because frankly, he was not, let's just say, he had a bit of a reputation as not perhaps the most thorough when it comes to safety and structure. He refused to spend money on a good gem cutter for starters. And I suspect that the reason why they never came back is because their shaft collapsed on them. So why bother? That's what I say. I have Flash here, and Flash is going to dig us a new shaft. And that's what we'll use to go down. But as an insurance policy, it might be nice to know where Murkfy's shaft is. And so that is your set goal at the outset. It's going to take Flash half a day to create the shaft that you will be using to go down. But Murkfy's shaft is somewhere in the area. And, you know, if things go a little sideways, if you decide to cheat or renege on the deal, you know, you might want to know another way out. Or not. This is optional. You can totally skip this and just go straight down. But in any case, it's a pretty big area. I'd probably say it's about the size of a couple football fields square, right? And just covered with these large, like massive purplish crystalline growths, right? And Flash has found the one he's going to be working on, which is going to be your entrance into so-called Murphy's Rock. And so he's got his tools. You know, he's using chemical compounds to slowly burn away the crystal and to shape a shaft that can be used to go down into it. And everyone else is just sort of hanging around, just sitting around, laughing, joking, eating bits of pig and prickly pear, maybe drinking a hard-won ale or two, something from back in more civilized territories. And that leaves the three of you, the scouts. Let's just have the scene with all of you together.
So this deal that we have with Mab, is it 10 for each one of us or 10 for the whole group?
10 total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 10 total and clears your burden. You don't have anything left over. That's it.
So how I mean, I like Mab. She's got a good head. But how strict do you think she's going to be about checking our pockets when we come back up?
I don't know. I haven't worked this kind of deal with Mab before, but has anybody seen the map? Is it real? Is she just making it up?
You know, I think I'd almost prefer to, fulfill this deal, and we can always come back once we know this area. We can come back later when they've gone. That feels safer than me to try to cheat. You've seen her bodyguards. I don't want to get on the wrong side of them.
What about the off chance that she's going to cheat us? Not just maybe the map's not real, but what if she never throws down another rope?
Well, she'd have to answer to all of her other people here as to why she left us down there. So if you think anybody here is even kind of honest or self-interested, then we're probably safe.
The an exit strategy, if Murphy's shaft exists, an exit strategy I think would be worth having, and it could be a game changer in terms of what we decide once we're down there.
Well, I'm not sitting around here getting drunk with this lot. I'm having a walkabout. If I find a shaft down, no reason to share it with these folks.
And I've got some rope.
Well, you will be expected to go down the shaft they're making, right? But if you discover Murphy's shaft, I will tell you where it, like, I'll tell you when you find it down below. Be like, oh, here's where the shaft, it's out. So, but in any case,
I kind of like the idea of leaving a rope there.
oh, in case you need to get back up.
Right.
That's a good point. Good point. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so Revel, that makes a lot of sense to me. What sorts of things might you be looking for, just in case, should you stumble upon them?
So give me an idea. How big is this rock? Is this like the size of a mountain, or is this like?
I would say it's probably best to think about it in terms of it's a sort of like flat plane with many, many, many large, like building-sized purple crystalline structures coming out of it, right? Not all of them are good for going down below, though, into the so-called tomb, right? Which is itself just a bigger piece of this crystal, right? That's what Flash is here for, to figure that out and to get you down there. And presumably Murphy did too. But so yeah, you can kind of walk, between the various big, large sort of like growths of purple crystal and pop about. But if you look at what Flash is doing, he's just got like tools and chemicals, and he's just like burning it away to get to like the way down. And it's gonna take
Yeah,
a
so
while.
I think I'm getting the three of us, if we are all going, to kind of spread out a little distance so we can cover a bigger area. And I'm just like, make sure you look for just signs of habitation, I don't know, human encroachment on the area. Not necessarily the same things that Flash is doing. Apparently this digger wasn't as good, but it could be. So if you see something like that, that'd certainly be a good clue. But
Let's have a hunt roll with, we'll start with Ravel. We'll see how that goes. We're going to be using the die roller in the trophy Discord. So if you have a relevant skill or piece of equipment, you can get 2 dice. Otherwise, it's 1 die, Ravel.
I think coordination, if we're all working together at this.
I love it. The way you described it, that's perfect. Go ahead and roll hunt 2.
5.
Very good. Are Lysander and Kel, are you following Ravel's instructions? Okay, good. In that case, if you are all sort of like fanning out and looking and you know, keeping an eye open for certain types of things, but also while trying to look like you're just bored, I think that's a really key part of it, right? Lysander, you will discover that one of these purple crystal growths has what appears to be a piece of canvas attached and hung near the base. What do you do?
I'm going to utilize my stealth skill to take a closer look.
Here's the complication, since Ravel got a 5, or you have to encounter something terrible. And the terrible thing is one of the greenhorns, a young fool hired by Mab to just be a body. He's also roaming around, bored, and he'll see you seeing that, Lysander, and he'll say, huh, what do you suppose that is?
I think this is some debris that's been blown here by the wind. Wait a minute, let me double check. Yes, it's definitely debris. We've seen a lot of this on the way, haven't we, along the way?
I'd like a risk roll. It sounds like you're trying to get this kid to go away, or at least ignore this, right? Is that a fair assessment of the stakes here?
Yes, but this is not really, let me see.
Well, let's talk about what could go wrong. So David and Colin, we get to say what we think would happen if Lysander fails right now.
He gets called out in front of the group for being a liar.
I think it could be just that, like, the kid is very loyal to Mab and goes and reports to Mab. Colin, anything to add?
That's what I was going to say too.
Yeah.
Draws more attention to him.
So let's talk about your skills. Do you have relevant skill here, Lysander?
No, that's the, it's a stretch. Organization.
Or the environment. You could use the environment theoretically. The way you've kind of described it, it's the environment, because you're saying like, oh, we've seen tons of stuff like this or whatever, right? But I'll leave it up to you.
I think I'm going to need a devil's bargain though.
Let's see here.
Because
not thinking they're getting the first light die.
I think I can get 1, but I think that'll be it.
Let's talk about devil's bargains. Okay, so something that will happen no matter what, whether Lysander succeeds or fails here. Whoever has an offer, go ahead and make it.
And no matter what, you discover evidence that Merc V left this reality.
And can you remind me what was found? It was a piece of cloth tied.
It's a piece of tarp, like attached to the base of one of these crystals, like a flap.
And we don't know what's underneath that.
No, not yet. I'm gonna say no matter what, a lith white comes around the corner.
No matter what, this young greenhorn decides that they would like in on whatever it is that we have going on. And they kind of see that we're up to something and they want in.
What do you think, Lysander?
Well, I like that one. I like that one because then at least we have then it cuts down on the
Torchbearer.
well, no, then it means that my fear that he goes back and tells Mab is diminished.
Mm. Yeah, maybe he like watches that space for you or something, right? Yeah. Okay, great. So you've got 2 light dice, and there's no dark die to start, so just roll 2 light. Nice. You got a 5, which means there will be a complication. I'll tell you what the complication is, and you can decide whether you want to add a dark die and reroll. The complication is quite simply this. You'll be able to convince him to like not go tell Mab, or otherwise make it to where he's not going to be a problem. I think the complication, especially since no matter what he wants in on it, I think the complication quite simply is that he expects to be paid. So you have to like come up with at least a gold worth of treasure, which would be a lot for him. For him to like basically keep your word and keep your confidence and do as you wish. Otherwise, you can add a dark die and try again.
What's his greenhorn's name?
I haven't named him yet. Let's call him Pate the Greenhorn.
Listen, Pate, this may or may not be a shaft to Murphy's Rock, and if it is, it might be good for us to know about, right? In terms of bringing out more treasure. So there might be something worth it for you if you keep this on the down low. And I'm looking for Kale and Ravel to see, since we spread out, to see if I can kind of like get.
Yeah, the 2 of you can join in as well if you wish.
Here comes some more of our scouts. So what do you think, Pate?
He says, so you're suggesting that it would be helpful to know how Murphy got in, and that this might be the way Murphy got in, but it would be just as helpful for Ms. Mab not to know how Murphy got in. Do I understand correctly?
Well, she has clearly stated many times on this journey that it's probably dangerous and for us not to really worry about it. So I don't think it's worth bringing her attention, just because she clearly does not care about this Murphy's entrance. So I wouldn't bother her. She sometimes has a temper. So I would just keep, for your own well-being, keep it on the down low, and then perhaps.
Do you know what else is good for my well-being?
More fatback?
Definitely not. I was thinking maybe a little cut of whatever you find down there.
Definitely doable. We get extra cuts all the time on these type jobs.
I was like, okay. So then if anyone asks me what the 4 of us are doing over here, I'll say that we're playing a game of dice to pass the time.
No. That does no. For a supervisor to take notice of a scout, you got to make it look like we're busy doing scout jobs. So if anybody asks, we were looking out for those whites and other trouble. See?
He's like, got it.
You're a good lad, Pate.
Yeah, why don't you stick nearby, Pate? I think it'd be best if you just hung close to the group until the mission's finished.
He's like, wait, you want me to go down into the shaft with you?
I think that might be best. You
like,
wanted to cut after all, right?
Like, maybe there's something in a more support or a sort of support capacity I could do.
I can see you're
Logistical
inexperienced and you're
things.
missing out on a big opportunity. picture this. There's all kinds of gems down there, and we grab them all up, right? We give Mabe her share, and then it's time for us to give you some, right? And we may look at it and give you like the small one, but if you're there with us, you can say, big one for
He's
me.
like,
See?
Mr. Lysander, Mr. Ravel, Mr. Kell, you might misunderstand my reasoning for being on this particular expedition. I mean, I love money, don't get me wrong. But what I'm really doing is trying to escape my past. I'm a bad man. I've done some bad things. You don't even want to know the kind of bad things I've done. This is all just a cover.
You are so on the team, Pate. That's the kind of thing we want.
I stabbed a man in Scarlet Town just to watch him die.
Yeah. I like the cut of your jib, Pate.
Then I think we won't trust you with sharp, pointy things. And I hand him a torch.
He's like, oh, all right, fine. Do you think she'll even let me, though? I mean, you know, there's like 50 people here. He's like, they might need me out here.
What I've learned with what Babe has told me personally, she pulled me aside once and she said, I would much rather you ask for forgiveness than permission, Lysander. So.
All right, fine. But you should know that I don't love enclosed spaces. I also don't like things to come within a few feet of my face. Very not into that.
Then you're not going to be long for this treasure hunting business.
Fire. I really dislike fire. Like, it's a utility, it's warm, it's good. Don't like to be near it.
Pate, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be great. Welcome to the team.
It's like, all right, well. And he goes and just lifts the tarp. And it is indeed the shaft. You can see the opening that's been bored through. But there's no climbing equipment down, though. Either it was lost or maybe it's partially collapsed down, partway down, or who knows what. But yeah. So what do you do?
Can we see how deep it is?
How would you do
the
so?
light that we have?
Oh, the light that you have, because it's very narrow and long, I don't think you'd be able to tell. But if you have some other way of doing it, then maybe.
I might grab a chunk of crystal and just kind of give it a toss and listen.
Yeah, I'm into that. Go ahead and make a hunt roll. You can do it with 2 dice, the way you described it.
That was a hunt roll?
Yes, you do /hunt 2. Oh, put a space between hunt and 2. Nice. Take a token. Oh, also, yeah, you should have taken a token before as well. Ravel, I don't know if you did or not, but take your token. And now here's where I'll kind of point out a rule. Just because you get a token doesn't mean you necessarily learn anything. Even if you fail, you might learn something, right? Whatever you learn is just up to me, but the only thing you're guaranteed is a token and or encountering something terrible. I will tell you this, though. It sounds like it's pretty deep, about 50 feet down, based off when you hear the thing land. The problem is, as soon as it lands, you hear also echoing up from the tunnel. And shuffling. Pate says, I'm okay with saying I didn't see anything. It's fine. You don't need to give me anything. I'm going to go back. I'm going to have a piece of fat back. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so good. Prickly pear, yum. Then he's walking off.
I'll collar him before he can go. Say, nope. We got to clear.
The deal's a deal, right?
We got to clear the entrance, and we've got to get you paid. And I'll trade my token for a treasure right now, so I can have one to entice him with.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think. Give me a moment to think about it.
Could be something I found while I was off
I
scouting.
was thinking that too. Yeah, like it's maybe not something you found right here. You find a very, very a nice semi-precious stone encrusted tankard. That's what you have.
Good.
Maybe he's seen you
All right.
drinking with it.
Well, yeah, I just pull it out and I'm like, we got to get you paid too. And then I like put it back into my pack.
He's like, what were those? Was that lapis lazuli and tourmaline and garnet on that tankard?
It's not even been polished, so it's probably a lot nicer than that.
Okay.
What do we
fine.
know about these whites?
Well, the rumors you've heard is that they're just sort of like that the crystal, you've heard all kinds of things, but apparently the crystal like takes over their mind and turns them into shambling undead creatures.
My plan is to find out some more about him and try and kill one by dumping some grease down the side and sending our torchbearer on a rope down to see if we can light it on fire.
down Murphy's shaft.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Do you tell him this plan?
I mean,
Just keep
it's
the rope out.
probably an explanation as he's being like harnessed.
He's
And
like,
as I'm
so what
enticing
exactly
him
are
with
we
treasure.
doing here? What are we doing here? What is all this?
It's called scouting, Pate. It's easy. It's not dangerous. It's looking with your eyes and listening with your ears.
He's like, okay, and he sees you with the fat back grease. He's like, what are you doing with that exactly?
I'm just like dumping it down the hole on the groaning, chittering
Whatever's
thing.
down there.
Yeah. I'm like, look, you're going to get a good look at it. And then you're going to get a better look when you touch your torch to it. And then if you run into trouble, we'll pull you back. You're going to be above the thing, out of harm's way.
He's like, ugh. And he's like, let me just touch that tankard one time before I go down.
Tell you what, I'll let you hold it as soon as you get back up.
He's like, all right, don't drop me. Who among you is probably the biggest and strongest in order to do this?
I mean, it's probably all three of us kind of
Fair
lowering
enough.
him on the rope, right?
It was your plan, Kel, so you can do the roll.
Okay.
With a help roll if you think you need it. Risk roll. Stakes are pretty obvious. It sounds like you're trying to like set the thing on fire and maybe see what's down there, or just set the thing on fire.
Yeah, maybe learn more about the situation, but the actual thing I want to do right now is try and light the thing on fire, maybe kill it or damage it.
Yeah, sounds good. And so what could go wrong, Colin and Daniel? Any thoughts?
The smoke could give away our position pretty easily.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Just Pate is killed, right? I mean, I'm not sure it's to be more complicated than that, but I do like the smoke causing the rest of the greenhorns to come check it out.
It might be Murphy down there.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that. That could be a good devil's bargain too.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I love it. Let's talk about dice. Coordination, I'll take that again for your light die, Ravel. Devil's bargains. I'm gonna steal your idea, Colin, and say it's Murphy down there. That's my offer.
I'm going to say no matter what, Pate gets a taste for this and wants more. It becomes like more reckless and less, shy.
Oh, interesting. He's like, yeah, he's like a thrill seeker now. Yeah, just need to rip the Band-Aid off to find the treasure hunter beneath.
Any others?
Two offers. To be fair,
I think I like
Collins.
I think I like Murphy being down there no matter what.
As an out of character, or maybe it's not out of character, maybe it's in character. How do we think Pate will be able to identify it as Murphy? Like, what is it about Murphy?
Oh,
You said he's a well-known robber, right?
He was, but like, how would Pate know from sight that it's Murphy?
oh, he's got to have some kind of reputation, some trademark thing that he always had, that he always wore, so people could easily identify him in taverns and whatnot.
What do you think that is?
Maybe it's a particular like gemstone that rather than like cashing in on, he like wore it on a sash around his waist,
Oh, interesting.
almost like a belt.
Oh, nice. Okay, so he had like a sort of gem encrusted belt. I like that. That's pretty good. Okay, so we got 2 light dice. I don't need a dark die yet, unless you, because I don't think you yourself are in danger. So go ahead and roll risk 2. 4 complication. The complication is going to be that Pate gets stuck and one of you has to scale down to unstick him. If you're okay with that, we'll let it go, but otherwise you can add a dark die. And that'll not only give you a reroll, but also invite help as well.
Yeah, let's get invite help with a dark die and see. All right, so now we're 2-1.
Interest 2-1. Hey,
there we
that.
go.
There you go. 6 light. Full success. Pate will destroy the Lithwhite. You'll be able to get him back safely. Just give us the beginning of the scene here. What does this look like? Everybody can describe how they're helping.
We kind of get a torch lit and into Pate's hand. He's got this harness around him, and then we're kind of sending him in like head first down the shaft. It's like everybody grab hold.
Are you securing the rope in any other way?
I think it's just 3 of us holding it.
He's going down and he's like, it's very narrow, very, very narrow. You'll remember before I said I don't like things in my face, and the walls of this shaft are right by my face and behind my head and by my ears. It's quite narrow. Good thing I didn't eat any more fat back than I did.
What do you see?
It's dark.
Here comes some fire. Watch out.
What does that mean?
Do we not light the torch for him?
Down.
I thought we gave him a torch before we pushed him down.
Okay, so you can give him a torch. Yeah, he's got the torch, and he'll probably have to be like holding it kind of above him though, because it's very narrow, right? And he's like, so the plan is I'm going to set this thing on fire, yes? Is that what we've all decided I'm going to do? Good. And he's like, I think there's a drop. There's about a 10-foot drop down to the ground, but I can definitely see. Oh my God. And then you hear like, he's like, I think it's Murphy. He's wearing the gem encrusted belt. You wouldn't know that because you're not from around here, but, and he's like, should I still burn him?
Yeah, light him on fire. Gems don't burn.
And you hear initially this like, and then you just hear like this whoosh, and you see the light of the flame in the darkness, and eventually the Lithwhite goes quiet. It's like, okay, I think it's done. Pull me back up now.
Let's haul him out.
Or we secure the rope and we go down.
Now let's haul him out. I don't want him getting near that belt.
Well, and Adipose will expect you all to be back over to go down Flash's shaft. So
in that case, I will when we pull him out, I will be finding a place to secure the rope.
You can secure the rope, yeah, in case you need it later. Yeah.
Yep.
He goes back up. He says, "Yes." He's like, "There's a drop. You wouldn't be able to reach the shaft just from standing on the ground, but I suppose if you let the rope hang down low enough, it would be all right. Gosh, look at me. I'm talking like I've been doing this forever. I have done more exploring of crystal tombs than the three of you, though. So I suppose that makes me sort of the expert right now, doesn't it? In a way.
We're going to put you in charge, Pate.
And he just nervously laughs. And you have secured egress and ingress. You don't need ingress, but egress from via Merkvy's shaft. So, Kel, how are you spending the rest of your time? Oh, and Sekol met, by the way. How are you spending the rest of your time while you're waiting on? You all have like a good portion of the day while you're waiting on the shaft to be dug.
I think Kel would be sticking close to camp, but just kind of out with his notebook and taking notes and looking particularly interested in any plant or animal life that he can come across.
Oh, nice, good. Go ahead and make a hunt roll. Yeah, take a hunt roll. You have flora and fauna, so take it with 2 dice.
I had 6.
Nice, take your token. You will discover, ooh, let me get Trophy Loom out. So I can do a flora and fauna. That'd be fun. I like delight in pulling up Trophy Loom now. It's like my favorite thing to do when I'm running Trophy now, is to like pull up Loom and pull something out of it. Okay. Elixirs, remedies, and poisons. Oh, nice. You find growing out here in the desert a little tree. At first, you're not sure. It's like, why would this be out here? It's not the desert, it's sort of scrubby land, but why would this tree be out here? And could it possibly be? Yes, it is. It is Duchess's Delight. Duchess's Delight, this pale green stone fruit, was the first fruiting plant from the Caldur forest to find a home in the fine gardens of Ambaret. It has very soft and sweet flesh. It's delicious, but importantly, it has a benefit. When fermented and distilled, the resulting brew emboldens the drinker, reducing fear, anxiety, and inhibition. You can find enough Duchess's Delight out here, probably just one single piece of fruit, but you can add it to your treasure though.
Yeah.
By itself, it's not worth gold, but it could be useful otherwise. What are you doing, Lysander?
I think I want to pal it up with the bodyguards, just to kind of be. I'm trying to like be on a good first name basis with them. I'm just trying to pal it up with with her twin bodyguards.
That would be Koto and Caro, I believe. Let me look up their names. Yes, Koto and Caro. They are, let me tell you what they look like. They are androgynous twins from the Blue Meadows. They have a bit of the ice hell ancestry, meaning they are white blonde, very, very pale skinned for this region, red eyes, lanky wood hard limbs, sharp hewn faces. They're very talkative, very boisterous. They're always showing off and like dueling each other, you know? Yeah, but they're otherwise, they don't seem to be particularly interested in what Mab is up to or any of this tomb robbing business. They just, they like their job. They get to work on their physiques and wrestle and grab ass and fight and protect her. That's their deal. But,
I'm going to ask which one. I'm going to ask which one of the two twins. Which one is like the like fiercest? Which one did you? If you guys were to actually fight for real, who would
they
win?
say, I am. And they look at each other. No, I am.
Oh, come on,
And-
God. I just try to egg them on and see.
Yeah, and you could be doing it, that's fine. Ravel, what are you doing?
I think I'm gonna try and sneak back to our rope and try and recover that belt.
Oh, very interesting.
I'm not gonna tell any of my companions that I'm doing that though.
Intriguing. You could go down there. Yeah, since the rope is secured, since you took the time to do that, I don't need a risk roll. You go down the shaft and Pate was correct. You have to lower yourself the last little bit onto the ground. You do see, you smell it first, but you see the smoldering body of the Lith White that was theoretically, presumably, Murphy. You see the gem belt as well. I think you're still hanging though. What do? Do you have a torch, or what's your light source?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
There might be enough.
what else I would
There might
have.
be enough ambient light just to see what I've described, but maybe nothing
Oh,
else.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's enough to see, then I won't bother with a torch. So you're saying I'm still
You're
a
still
little
hanging.
distance from the ground?
Yeah, you're still hanging on the rope. Yeah.
Okay. Does the rope reach the ground now?
Not
or-
all the way, but you can. But it's low enough to where you can kind of like jump up to it from the bottom if you need to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I'll lower myself down and collect the belt.
You hop down, and this is part of the dungeon. Let me take a look at my notes here. Oh, there we go. So this area of the dungeon has a set goal. It may not mean anything to you right now, but I will tell you what it is for the time being. The set goal is learn how to appease the glass spiders. When you drop down, you are in a space that is actually covered in tar-soaked bones. It's actually a wonder it didn't all light on fire more. That was just pure luck. But there are other bones down here. It's unclear what happened here. It's unclear who these people are. Probably people from Murphy's expedition, but we don't know for sure. And the space itself is, I'll just clip it for you real quick. I have a little Google drawing, which I'll share with you here in a moment. There we go. There's our little Google drawing, so you can see what the room is like. You can see the shaft coming down, and you're in this space. And the whole like area, especially towards the back wall, is all piled up with tar-covered bones. And Murphy, what's left of him, is basically right at the shaft. It was within just like mere feet of all this catching on fire, right? But it did not. And there's a door to the south, and there's also a couple of little side sort of transept areas there. you can just grab the belt and go back up, or you can keep going.
I think for now, my plan is just to grab the belt, put it underneath my clothes, and climb back up the rope.
You can do that. The belt is worth 2 gold. So congratulations, Mercury's belt. And by the time you get back, by the time Kel is done picking fruit out in the middle of the frontier, and Lysander has made good friends with the twins, Flash says, you hear him, a hue and cry go up, I did it! We got it! Ms. Mab, the shaft is complete. We can see the bottom. And it is time to go down. Adipose, she claps her hands. Wonderful, excellent, excellent. Now, where are my 3 scouts? And she will gather the 3 of you. And Pate is like off to the side. She'll say, now don't forget the terms of our very generous deal. You give me, send up everything you find. Don't lie. And I will give you a little cut. That cut represents your burdens being cleared. And then a map so that you can lead your own expedition. And trust me, I would go after it myself, but I am a very, very busy woman. Being a scholar of these things, I've learned about many such tombs. It's nothing for me to let one of them slip out of my hands, especially for good, brave, able, honest treasure hunters like the 3 of you. So, is there anything else you need before you go down?
Are we going to try to bring Pate with us?
Pate is not saying anything.
I kind of don't like the fact that he knows where the rope is.
Pate's there, but he's just not piping up. I think he's thinking like, maybe they'll just forget, or maybe.
Yeah, and I grab him by the collar again and pull him over. Like, we've got a 4th member.
She's like, oh, okay. I thought there were 3 of you for some reason. But anyway, and Pate's like, but I've been with the mule trained longer than, like, way longer than she's just ignoring.
He knows more about diving into these than anybody else I know. He'll tell you that
More than we have, Mabe.
She's like, right, excellent. Well, the 4 of you, good luck. And she's sending on your way.
I think I would pipe up and say, Mab, we have some concerns about being left down at the bottom of the shaft after we
says,
set up all of
I do not have these concerns.
It would certainly appease my troubled mind if you might send that map down first before we send up the treasure. We're still at your mercy to be brought up, but it would certainly help me do my best work.
All right, that might be able to be arranged. I'll think on it. We'll discuss it.
That's very fair-minded of you, Mabe.
Yes, I know. So you have 12 hours. If we don't hear from you in 12 hours, we will come down. Remember, you are to make a drawing of what you see, the basic layout of the tunnels and things. Point out anything we need to be aware of, anything that might be a danger. Do not squirrel away treasure, thinking I won't find it, because trust me, I will. And yeah, if we don't hear from you, well, you've got 12 hours. And they're harnessing you up, getting ready to lower you down on ropes. They have a very, very, like, they've got lots of people holding the ropes to lower you down, right? And if there's nothing else, you will all be lowered down into the shaft that Flash has managed to dig. Pate, as you're going down, is saying, in my experience, when going down a shaft like this, In order to not get the, that fear one gets when something is very close to their face, in order to avoid this, take a deep breath, close your eyes. Go ahead, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and imagine what it's going to be like when you are wallowing in Ms. Mab's treasure. And you're going down. We'll take 5 and come back. So we're being lowered down into the tomb. I want to remind you all about the sort of true facts that you know from your time with the mule train, because those are details that will help you at some point in the dungeon. And if you take a look at the map, we're in that little piece in the lower right corner there, in the middle of those sort of 3 chambers. That middle chamber is sort of where we're starting. It's labeled number 1. That's kind of hard to tell because the writing's messy. But let me describe that for you. Also, there's a set goal here. The set goal for this area is learn the history of this place and how to defeat one of its traps. That's your set goal. And this first room that you're in, let's talk about it. Scintillating daylight pours in from the shaft above. The shaft itself was only about 20 feet. This is actually a Flash, knowing what he's doing, was able to find a good spot to enter. And so it's only about 20 feet down. In fact, as you're being lowered down, Pate says, in my experience, we're only about a third of the way down. Oh, wait, here we are. And you are there at the bottom. And the shaft itself was a hollow interior of an enormous lavender crystal. The walls are very, very slick. Climbing them without Mab's equipment would be near impossible. In this room, there are 2 doors, one to the left, one to the right. And in the corners of the room, there are piles of delicate crystals. These crystals are also the purplish color, and they look incredibly fragile. You can see all of this from the light above. You don't need a light source yet. But I'll start with Lysander. What do you do?
I'm wary of those. I'm wary of those fragile-looking crystals. Is there any? I'm looking to see if anything's written on the walls, or if there's any kind of imagery, or if we're just inside of a crystal. But I'm just looking for some kind of clues that I can tie to some myth or legend I might have heard about.
Make a hunt roll.
Six and a 1.
6 is a very good roll here. Take your token, but no, in this particular little room, which is mostly just an antechamber, there's nothing in particular that stands out as being telling a story or anything. It's basically just these piles of crystals on the ground and the 2 doorways. Kel, what do you do? Oh, you're muted, Colin.
I'd be investigating those piles and seeing what I can find.
How are you investigating? What are you doing?
I'd be looking at them and I'd be comparing them to my notes that I took about the crystals up on the surface.
Good. We'll make that a hunt roll and taking a look at your skills. I don't know if you have anything that's super relevant.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, maybe you're a former naturalist, so that might just be helpful as a general matter. And flora and fauna, I'll count it. I think just I think you have enough background in sort of like observing the natural world. Even this is natural enough now, I suppose, even though it's not from this world. Go ahead and roll 2 dice.
5 is the highest.
Take your token. There's a complication, or you encounter something terrible, rather. The thing you encounter terrible is actually something that Ravel encounters terrible. I mean, you're directly encountering it, but Ravel notices it. Ravel, Kel is not being careful he's being very careful as he sifts through the crystals, but not being very careful where his boots land. And you can see Kel is occasionally crushing some of these fine crystals under boot, which is causing a fine mist of purple shards, cloud, dust to rise up. What do you do, Ravel?
So I take like a loose piece of cloth and I like cover my face, and then I come over and I just start like dumping water onto the spot like you do with dangerous mining, to just like keep it all on the ground. And I'm like, and then I look at Kel and like shake my head because I don't want to do too much talking or breathing around it even, but just like really being like, you got to be more careful.
Kel, you got your token, but you're otherwise, there's nothing in the piles of crystals of note. It's just these piles of crystals, and they are very, very fragile.
Yeah, and I see this happening and I back off and stand sheepishly in the middle of the room.
Indeed. Just to make it extra interesting, Pate is rummaging around in the crystals. Not nearly as carefully as Kel was. Luck is currently on his side, Lysander, because he has not shattered any of them yet. But what do you do?
We need like a shepherd's crook for Pate to steer Pate. I say, excuse me, Pate, boss, is the leader of this expedition. You gotta let us do the grunt work. You're the experienced guy that does all the thinking. Let us do this kind of sort of work, and you just supervise. How's that sound, Pate?
Oh, got it. Like the brain that controls the body.
Like Mab Jr.
He thinks about that for a minute. He says, well, I don't know who my mother is.
That's really not what we're here to talk about, Pate.
There are 2 doors, one on the left and one on the right. What do you all do?
Is there anything demarking one versus the other?
They're just openings in the
Okay.
crystal wall.
But
I
I was going to ask, are they like made, or are they like torn through the crystal, or is it like an actual doorway, or is it?
That's a good question. It looks like they have been like, the crystal has been like masoned.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
I will arbitrarily go towards 2.
Very good. That is the one on the right as you face it. There is a short passage, and that short passage opens up into a triangular doorway that goes into a larger roughly pyramid shaped space. The triangular arch, the crystal here is clouded, pearlescent, and there are very, very meticulous patterns carved all around it. This is maybe more of what you were looking for earlier. Lysander. And it opens up into a room that is also this pyramid-shaped room that is also carved with fine markings on the ceilings and walls. Lysander, what do you do?
Does this pyramid shape go above ground, or are we still underground?
It's all underground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
it's
what I
only
was,
it's only like 10, 12 feet high.
oh, okay. I'm just trying to look at any of the symbols or pictures or even the shape of this being so triangular, and I'm thinking back to my days as a librarian studying this. If there's some myth that comes to mind, some myth or legend, which I have a skill in, to see if this rings any bells.
Yeah. Make a 2-die hunt roll for now, though I feel like once you start to learn more about it, I think that skill will probably, its relevance will start to be questionable. But for now, I think you're okay.
No, something terrible.
We'll come back to that. That'll take you a minute to look into things. Kel, what are you doing?
I think having maybe overstepped a little bit with my investigation of the crystals, I'm staying back a little bit, and I think I'm looking for like any signs of life, and I'm wondering if there's, so I've got a real interest in beekeeping. I'm thinking about insects. I'm thinking about anything that might be swarming down below here, and I'm looking for signs of life like that.
Yeah, if you're going to try to like deduce the ecology of the place, that's a great place to start, right?
Yeah.
At the lowest rung of the ecological ladder. Go ahead and roll 2 dice and roll.
Okay. Okay, 6.
Nice. Take your token. We'll just talk about what you find in a minute. And Ravel, what are you doing?
I'm looking for obvious signs of like sources of treasure, not the little crystal shards or pile. I don't even want to dig in crystal shard pile. I feel like that's like panning a toxic river. If you're doing it, you're playing a losing game. I'm looking for obvious, structures or things, because this was a made place. So,
and you're still,
like
and this is in the pyramid room in area 2.
Yeah.
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. Skills. Any good skills?
I don't know if any of those apply. If you might have a piece of equipment though, that would be helpful. Maybe something from your additional equipment even.
Yeah, is there like a place up high or down low or anything that I need to try and get to get a better look? Or
I mean, once Pate has the torch lit, you can kind of see all around, just from the ground. It's not a huge space.
Okay.
But honestly, Pate's torch might be a good justification just for the second die. So, especially if one of you gives him a torch.
Yeah, I'll use equipment to have torches available. So we've got him with torches.
Sounds good. You can take 2 dice. Nice.
6.
Take your token. We'll come back to what you find in a moment. Let's go back to Lysander. Lysander, you just encounter something terrible. And here's the intriguing thing. You're looking at these symbols, and eventually you start to realize that it's not the walls that are interesting here, but the floor. The crystal in the floor is translucent in a way that you can see shadowy images beneath the crystal, forming and reforming, swirling, moving about. And they show scenes. Each little scene lasts for a minute or two, maybe not even that long, and then changes to another scene. And the first scene that you see, that we're going to talk about, is you see a king. You know he's a king because he's wearing a fabulous crystalline headpiece. And this king is walking with an older man and a group of courtiers. The older man, some sort of vizier of some sort, who's talking with him. They're walking in a natural crystalline structure. It's a lot like the crystal that you're in, except it's not worked or hewn. And they're pointing things out. The vizier is pointing things out to the king. The king is nodding approvingly as he looks around. And given that you wish to escape to another reality, how do you know that this scene is something, these people are not of this world?
I think they're missing some key feature that humans here have, and I'm gonna say it's something like something really creepy, like eyelids. Like they don't seem to, their eyes, they never blink, and they don't seem like they have any kind of eyelids.
The scene changes to be a group of workers toiling at the edge of exhaustion. They're covered in sweat. They have scarred backs. Checking lines and veils real quick. They have scarred backs, and there are overseers watching them do their work. And they are carving what appears to be a throne. And here's the truly encounter something terrible part. These workers in the image turn and they look at you, Lysander. They make direct eye contact with you as you're looking down at them in the floor. And their eyes are furious, filled with rage. And you can feel it. They're raging toward you specifically. What do you do?
I take a step back and I look at the others to see if others have noticed these images on the floor.
They will notice them, yes, and all three of you can see them. Pate will even be like, "Oh, look at that."
No. I'm more like I want to know: are they looking at me, or am I just standing in the point of view? Whoever created
If you
this
move
was standing,
around, their heads turn to look at you.
like one of those creepy paintings. Okay, got it.
Let's cut back over to Kel looking for bugs and things. Kel, this is good information. It seems like something terrible, but it's not. You eventually find some little tiny spiders. You're perhaps delighted to discover that the spiders are like little crystals. They have little crystal thoraxes and very, very fine legs, and they're very small. And one of them bites your flesh. It doesn't hurt, just a little tiny bit. And you can see that it's drawing blood up into the crystal carapace, or whatever that part of the spider is, the body of the spider. And now the little spider is like blood filled, and then it crawls away. What do you do?
I'm very, very intrigued by this. And I think that I would like to collect as many of these little spiders as I can. And I'll put them into a just a little container. And I have a pot of honey, and I'm gonna see if they're interested in that. And I'm gonna try to compare their reactions to the blood. And I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna keep an eye on the one that is filled with blood and just kind of see what happens to it.
They have no interest in the honey, but you can collect some of these spiders. You can even put that in your equipment. Tiny crystal spiders. And Ravel, you got 6, right?
Yep.
You got your token, but there's otherwise nothing in the room. It's just a pyramid, and it's carved in runes, but it's a fairly small space. You can see all around, and there's apart from these scenes playing out on the floor, which Pate is staring at slack-jawed now. There's really nothing else in here. I say that like it's not a big deal, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like sorcerous and amazing, but it's
treasure.
not money. It's not money.
Yeah, but maybe this scene is maybe this throne they're making is here somewheres. I don't know. Or the crown.
The scene is changing. The scene is changing, and now you see a noble in battered armor kneeling before the crowned king on his brand new purple crystal throne. He is angry. He is furious. He's gripping the arms of the throne. And suddenly, the walls begin to glow, and the battered noble, or the noble in the battered armor, he's pleading for his life. And as the walls glow, you can see his skin melting from his face. He's screaming in agony as the skin melts away, just leaving bone. And then what's left just catches on fire in the armor. How do you feel? What do you do?
Backing out of this room. I don't want to see scene 4.
Yeah, Pate's like, we should. Actually, no, Pate stays. Pate's like, don't you want to see what's going to happen next?
Bad things, Pate. Bad things. Come on.
Ravel, are you leaving?
Yeah.
Pate, as you're pulling away, he says, but wait, it's changing. There's something else happening. But you pull him out.
Yeah.
You're back down in the antechamber. There's another door. Kel, you've gathered up your spiders. Ravel, you are no closer to meeting your financial obligations to Adipose. What are we doing?
Going on the other door. That's Ravel's plan.
Very well. This next area, I need to take a look at the map. So little hallway, like that other one, and that hallway opens up into another room. This room is sort of hexagon shaped and has 2 doors. Again, one on the left, one on the right. Or sorry, it's a pentagon shape. This pentagonal chamber of glassy lavender is actually illuminated by sunlight that has managed to reach through from the crystals up above on the surface. The light glitters against veins of gold inlay shot through the walls. 2 doors of sculpted black stone presumably lead further into the tomb. You were first, Ravel. What do you do?
I want to see how substantial this gold inlay is. If this is like, if it's worth like trying to peel off, like if it's that kind of gold, or if it's like.
Do you
just
have an
barely
appraisal skill?
anything.
If anybody has an appraisal skill, I'll just tell you.
Somebody does.
I do.
Listen.
Yeah. Since you have an appraisal skill, Lysander, I will tell you that it will take a while to hack away at the gold, and it's probably going to be noisy to do so. But if you do, you will come back with, it'll be worth an equivalent to 3 gold worth of treasure. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Is this something we do now, or we come back and do later, or we tell Mabe? Like, there's also, I don't know.
I mean, I think Ravel is like, he's like talking to you guys like, we need to secure this room. We're going to take our time. We're going to get this off, and that's going to get us a long ways.
I've got an out of character question. Is it a 1-to-1 token to gold to fulfill Mab's requirement?
So you can spend a token to get a treasure, which is worth at least 1 gold.
Yeah.
Or you can just find 10 gold worth of stuff without spending any tokens. So.
Okay. And so if I've previously acquired some tokens and I turn those in for gold, that gold could be applied to Mab's cost.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be like stuff that you find down here, which is, that's your obligation, is to find. In fiction, it's probably like 5,000 silver worth of treasure or something, but in game terms, it's 10 gold. So.
That's, yeah, since this is lit, we should ditch our torches and set up a little base camp here. And I'm gonna get out of my backpack. I think I have 1 slot left. I'm gonna go with like a small pickaxe to start working on this.
What about securing the area, Ravel? What do you do?
All right. So there were 2 other entrances.
There's 2 doors. Yeah, there's these
2 doors.
2 heavy
Are they
black
like
stone doors?
So there are stone doors blocking the way. Okay. I think I'll just like look at them real quick and like see.
They open inward towards you.
Oh, they open towards us. Okay, great. Then I'll just like take something and wedge it into the cracks so they can't open into the room while we're doing this.
Yeah, pick something from your additional equipment, or just fill up a spot with wedges, and you can.
Okay.
And what are you doing anything to help or prepare, Ravel, or tell rather?
I've got some twine and a bell. And so I might ask the group, I would ask the group, I could set up a little, this will notify us. We can put it on these doors in case somebody gets through, or, I don't know about that pyramid shaped room. Do we have any fears coming from that direction?
I mean, it's, if you want to set up like a trip trap thing that'll jingle so we can hear it, that sounds like a great idea to me. I'm using iron spikes to secure these doors, and also I'll use them. They can double as like pulling gold filigree off of walls tools. I'll hand some to Pate. Be like, get after it.
He's like, I was under the impression that my job was to hold the torch and lead the expedition.
Yep. That's right. Leaders got to do. They would never ask anybody to do something they wouldn't do themselves. Isn't that right, Lysander?
You got to lead from the front, Pate. You got to lead from the front.
I have never seen Ms. Mab, who is possibly my mother. I have never seen her grab a tool and start hacking away or clearing trails. Or
she does it all at night, Pate, when we don't see her. She does not rest. She works on into the night.
She really is tireless. She's a tireless worker. She's so dedicated to what she does. She's the
And
best.
you've never seen her down in a room with gold in the walls before. Guarantee you, she'd be pulling it out faster than anybody.
She really is a great woman. I hope I end up taking after her at the end of the day.
Don't take too much of this, Pate. Don't latch onto that. You never want to be disappointed by your heroes.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I know. You're set about your work. Getting your gold. At a certain point, give me a moment.
While all this is going on, I'll take the time to make a map of the known areas with the journal, since that was also part of our commission.
That is true. That is a good point. Yes. At a certain point, Pate will look up. At this point, you've acquired about 1 gold worth of lowercase g gold from the walls. Pate will look up and say, huh, that's unusual, isn't it? And if you look up, you will see that very, very fine strands of the crystal are sort of peeling away from the roof, which again is glowing from the sun. They're just sort of like peeling away and so light they're practically dancing in the air. Lysander, what do you do?
Stop ripping the gold off the wall.
Pate says, "Ooh, I got a good one." Chunk. And some more gold comes out. Kel, these little strands are still forming. They're taking a rough shape almost. What do you
do? Are they falling all the way down, or do they kind
They're
of
hovering.
hang?
They're hanging. They're hovering. Yeah.
I think I would just kind of, get the attention of Ravel and Pate and anyone else who hasn't seen it yet. And just maybe, I would say, I think we should maybe just watch. This seems to be connected to what we're doing here with this gold. And, no rush. Let's just see what's going on here.
Are these strands like inhalant size, or are
No.
they like bigger than that?
They're bigger, not much bigger. They're quite fine. At this point, they make up the vague shape of an arm with a hand and fingers.
And they continue when we stop, they keep going.
Yep.
Do you think it's like another vision? This is just another thing to observe, or you think it's alive? You there? Who goes there?
At this point, about half of a face and a neck and a torso have formed as well. And it opens its mouth, and you hear a sound that sounds like delicate pieces of glass being crunched underfoot. And it just says, Pate says, I have a feeling whatever it is does not intend to parley.
So the pickaxe.
At this point, the thing is fully formed. It is a spider web of crystal in the shape of a woman, a razored dream, a sound that cuts, a mineral ghost. It floats down to where you're at. Pate screams. Ah! He has shards of glass sticking out of his cheek that the thing has propelled into his face. He's freaking out right now. He falls back against the wall, clawing at his face, blood everywhere. And this thing is slinging shards all over the place. You are now in combat with it. Pate, someone has to be responsible for protecting him, which means you have to take an extra weak point. Who's volunteering for that?
I'll do that, and I'll yell at him to add direct pressure.
Let's have weak points. Say how you're vulnerable and roll your weak /weak on the die roller.
I have 2 ones.
You have to roll another one. You have to have 2 different ones.
Okay. Oh,
So you're looking at 6 and 1, Lysander. How are you vulnerable? Is it just the fact that you have to manage Pate?
yeah. I'm trying to stop the bleeding, and then I'm probably gonna throw the pickaxe. So then that's gonna leave me with trying to get a saber out. But I'm gonna attack him with the pickaxe first, and I'm vulnerable because then I'll have to pull out another weapon, and I'm trying to cover Pate.
I love it. Ravel, how are you vulnerable and what's your weak point?
My weak point is 2. I'm vulnerable because I think it's just the risk of inhaling shards in this enclosed space.
Yeah, Kel, how are you vulnerable and what's your weak point?
As a naturalist and beekeeper, I've just never experienced anything remotely like combat before. And so I'm shaking in my boots, and my weak point is 5.
Very good. This is a combat. This is an endurance 6, fairly easy monster. I need 3 dice. Whoever wants to do the honors, by all means, roll combat 3. Since it's your first combat, Kel, why don't you do it? We are looking for the 2 highest. Our results are 3, 2, and 1. And the 2 highest are 5, which is not enough to defeat the creature. And regrettably, it also hits Ravel's and Lysander's weak point. Let's get the combat going. You have not destroyed the creature. Kick it off, Kel. Just narrate a little bit of what you're doing.
Sure. I've got my staff out in front of me, and I think I'm mainly kind of taking a defensive stance, not knowing what I'm doing at all, but just kind of holding it out in front like that. Should I narrate the hit to my weak point?
Oh, did you get a weak point hit as well?
Yeah, mine was 5 as well.
Oh, no, none of the dice came up 5, so you're okay.
I see. I gotcha. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I am certainly not taking any I'm not on the offense here.
Lysander, give us the next part of the combat.
I throw the pickaxe and I miss. It clatters across the room, and then I turn to help Pate add some direct pressure to try to stop the bleeding, and then I feel like piercing shards of glass, hitting the back of my head and one of my ears, and I can feel blood.
Keep it going, Ravel.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really got a true attack besides throwing the pickaxe. I don't think anybody was even really trying to swing. So the thing just explodes with shards, and they scatter all across the room, striking myself and Kel, and somehow, or not Kel, but Lysander, and somehow Kel has managed to like not be hit by that spray.
Ravel, give us for the second round, combat 4. That more than does the job with an 11. 6, 5, 2, and 2. Oh, the 2s are rough, but it is destroyed. Lysander, keep it going.
Once my saber's out, I charge forward and do some slashes across this crystalline creature, and it does a swipe, generating more of these shards, and it rips my jacket. My armor jacket is shredded, but I'm saved.
And keep it going, Kel.
Yeah, I think that in another burst of crystal shards, I get hit in my legs below my leather jacket. And after a scream, I'm just filled with the adrenaline, and I just run in with my staff and just pop it on top of the head as hard as I can.
Nice. Finish it off, Ravel. Bearing in mind you got 2 hits there to deal with.
Yeah, I'm blocking with armor. So it is attacking the room, and no choice but to deal with it directly. So I rush at the thing, and it tries to spray the room again, but instead I'm covering it with my chainmail armor, and I just smother it against the ground until it's just nothing but little shattered fragments. But I have to strip off my armor because it's got too many of these light dust fragments, and I stuff it into a pack to maybe try and clean later. But it's too dangerous to wear now.
Nice, I love it. The thing's defeated. Kel, go ahead and roll a gold 6, please. You will be able to retrieve something worth 1 gold from this creature's remains. Whoever wants to define it can note it in their equipment.
I think in the dust and shattered fragments there is like a true gem heart where the creature's chest would have been, and it's a solid like ruby.
Nice. Good. Once you catch your breath from that, you will be able to spend the rest of the time needed to retrieve more of the gold. You will get the rest of your haul, 3 gold worth of stuff. You can each mark 1 gold on your gold counter. And I think, Lysander, you notice Pate trying to pocket a particularly big chunk. What do you do?
That's not a supervisor's cut. Supervisor gets way more than that. That's let's keep this all in the stash for Mabe. You'll get yours at the end, Pate.
And just sort of like looks disappointed and hands it back over, and he says, I really don't understand the boundaries and responsibilities of this job. I feel like I should have been given a job description of some sort, perhaps.
It's learning while doing. It's like on the job training, and you're doing great, but let's try to get those shards. I'm gonna try to get some of the shards out of his face.
Yeah, but imagine you're all picking them out to some degree. Good. Okay, well, not a bad little haul. Rough fight, but not a bad haul. You got 2 doors here. What are we all doing?
Do we know what triggered in character? Do we know what triggered this beast? Was it the fact that we were getting the gold, this crystalline creature?
Could just be hanging around in one spot for a while.
I say we proceed with extra caution.
Has anybody else found anything besides this gold filigree? Well, anybody feel lucky about one of these doors?
Oh, I do.
Which one?
Tell us, Pate.
The woman who claimed to be my mother until I was about 14, let me tell you, it's pretty disappointing when I discovered that that wasn't the case. She did always tell me, go left.
And I
Always
proceed to
keep
the
to the
right-hand
left.
door.
Very good, very good.
This is part of this is an organizational strategy that treasure hunters have, Pate. It's just a safety precaution.
He's like, there's so much to learn. I don't know how I'm going to keep all this straight, to be perfectly honest.
You'll get there.
Indeed. On the right-hand side, there is a short hallway that opens up into another doorway. The hallway is very short, probably only like 20 feet. You can see straight directly across. Do you go into this new area? And I'll populate the map here in a moment. Okay. Let's get an image uploaded. There we are. This is not going to perfectly match, but it'll be close enough. Oh, actually, it's pretty close. Let's consider. That's pretty good. Yeah. Down that little short hall, it opens up into a very, very large, vast space. This large, vast space has a brand new set goal, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let me just tell you what you see at the outset here. Give me a moment to find it. There we are. This is the geode grave. Narrow ledges around the edge of the room, you can see them there, overlook a great chasm encrusted floor to ceiling with transparent plum crystals. 20 feet below the ledges, the chasm floor is filled with heaps of tangled bodies, many partially covered in crystal growths. A wide stair with brass railings climbs to an arched doorway on the north wall, all the way across. Your set goal in this area is to cross the area to the stairway without rousing the dead. And the dead number in the hundreds, based off what you can see down below. We'll wrap up the session there and go straight to stars and wishes. That's our debrief. Stars are things that you enjoyed about the session. Wishes are things that you hope to see next week. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I've got a star for Pate and everybody's role play with Pate. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Pate was a star for me too. I wasn't planning on playing a character like that today, but it just happened and it was fun. So I just had a good time with it. The interactions were very, very humorous. It's going to be really, really fun when we kill him finally. So.
We're gonna get him through this, and he'll become a playable character.
Any other stars or wishes?
I enjoy kind of diving into an OSR and seeing how it goes in trophy. How do you feel on the prep side, converting this to sets and props and treasures?
That's fine. I mean, I don't do like a really hardcore conversion. I just literally write set goals on the page, and then I just wing it otherwise. But yeah, it's pretty easy.
Nice.
I mean, some people, you could do a more like detailed conversion where you write down monster blocks and everything, but if you can wing it, it's not that hard. Like as long as you can like eyeball the endurance, it's simple. So.
I put a star with Pate as well. It's I don't think I've seen an NPC that's kind of been roped in the times that I've played Trophy. unless they turn out to be a god. I like Pate, and I do feel some responsibility for him, which is good that you're able to pick that up with your character, and not just callously kicking him into the pit room to set off the trap. For wishes,
You all did lower him into a shaft.
That's before we got to know him.
Covered in pork grease with zombies at the bottom.
That's before we got to know him. But I do, yeah, I enjoy engaging with Pate, showing him the ropes. But I'm looking forward to try to knock out solve some of these set goals. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, the one set goal, learning the history of the place. I mean, probably the only way to do it is just keep watching the little shadowy scenes, right? But you know, I was trying to hint pretty heavily that the more you do that, the more danger you start to be in. But
yeah, like many things, OSR, sometimes the answer is to not engage it entirely. Get the idea and get out.
Yeah, I tried to make that first one very enticing by also saying, and how to defeat one of its traps, which I was hoping would be like an enticement to, because it would be easy enough just to be like, I don't really care about the history of this place. I'm just here to find treasure. So, yeah.
So I mentioned in the chat, like, what are the sizes of these Oculus? And I don't know if it's something that you can carry in a wheelbarrow or it's the size of a building, but my Lysander would be very interested in one that has arcane power in it, because it seems like that's something that he could collect and use to open up a gate, like he saw at the Academy Chrysalis. So, but do we know? You said they come in various sizes.
Yeah, you heard different things in the mule trade. Yeah, some as big as rooms, some are portable. Yeah. I have a wish. My wish is to see. I'm curious whether you actually uphold your end of the bargain with Mab or not. I'm very curious to see how that plays out, because you might just be able to climb out from Murphy's shaft and sneak off into the night. But
yeah, what's your ambition for this set of sessions that we're going to play? Is it that we spend all of them in this dungeon, or that we
quickly you finish.
get the map and go? Because we could pretty quickly cash out ostensibly for the map, but she might be lying.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if you do get a map, I will be ready to let you explore that. So
cool. What do the other two of y'all think? I'm kind of fine either way, but we're actually pretty close if we wanted to fulfilling the obligation.
If we could find the room that has a rope in it, we have to at least and I have stealth, so I wouldn't mind sneaking up to see if it had been discovered, and then at least we have options, right?
Yeah, I'm interested in exploring those options, and I feel like there's some tension for Cal with Mab as a scholar and my connection to my desire to join the Earthen Council. I think that
would be an interesting connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm weighing, like, can I deceive Mab and withstand any potential hits to my reputation that she might be able to levy at me.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about like the Earthen Council connection, but it's an interesting one. I might think about that for next time. See if there are any. Yeah.
Cool.
This would have been like James or Horrorguess's like Wonderland.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like really a shame Horrorguess is not here, because it's like it's like Geomancer dungeon. Like, this would be perfect. Yeah, I love it. Maybe it's good that he's not. That way, you all don't have the advantage of such.
No, I would have just turned him loose and like read a newspaper. Right. What'd you find?
Exactly. He does everything. He like listens to the stone and everything. So you'd probably like never make any progress, because every 5 feet he has to stop and listen to the stone. But yeah, another star. I thought everyone did a great job with just like, yeah, just the role play was really fun. You know, we managed to get a fair amount of role play in, considering it's just a dungeon crawl. So, which is sometimes that's not always the easiest thing to do. So that was fun. And yeah, there is some really cool shit in this dungeon. I hope we get to see more of it, because you can, once you've met your obligation, you can keep searching this dungeon, right? So yeah. But any other stars or wishes? Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording then.